I really want to build a team here, it's like a family atmosphere where everybody supports each other. Janae Marie Kroczaleski, we're in Kroc's gym in Novi, Michigan. I was just always passionate about strength since I was a little kid. I remember being like 3 or 4 years old and seeing somebody big and strong and being like, wow, that's how I want to be. So I just took a very strong interest in it from a young age. When I was 6 years old, my parents caught me with one of my dad's dumbbells, doing one of the little tiny ones, doing 10 reps with each arm until I did 100 with both arms. And by the time I was 9 years old, I made my first weight set out of a bent bar I found in the woods, milk jugs I filled with sand, and then I threw like a 2x12 across some cinder blocks to make a bench. Begged my parents for weights every year for Christmas, and then finally when I was in 5th grade, I got my first weight set, and then my dad made me some additional lead plates that he melted down from car batteries, and that's how I started out and working out in my backyard. I mean, I'm into like old hot rods and muscle cars. I've got a 67 Camaro that I've completely rebuilt. It has a 555 cubic inch big block in it, and I drag race that, and we got some other cars that I race, and so yeah, those are like my hobbies. And then I'm also very active in the LGBTQIA+ community. I do a lot of speaking at seminars and lots of podcasts and things like that, but just trying to advocate for the community, educate people, and then hopefully inspire people that can relate to my story. I train weights 5 days a week, try to do cardio almost every day. I compete in jiu-jitsu now, which is something I've started within the last year. And I compete with all the guys out of Assembly in Bloomfield Hills, which awesome team, love those guys. And so my training's like kind of more of like a cross training style now, but I still do all the basics, benching, squatting, deadlifting, trying to train as heavy as possible. I mean, my primary goal isn't to be as strong as possible anymore. It's to be all-around athletic while maintaining as much strength as I can. Another one of my hobbies is mountain biking, so I try to stay in good enough shape to do that. And I've downsized a lot from when I was competing. I mean, at my very biggest, I was like 270 to 280, and right now I walk around about 230, 235. I said try to be a little more balanced. But yeah, weights 5 days a week, centered around the basics. Cardio almost every day, and then doing jiu-jitsu 3 to 5 days a week, and some mountain biking in there, and whatever else I can squeeze in. I'm getting close to 50, 48, and just try to stay as strong as I can and in as good shape. And for all the injuries I've had, I'm still in one piece, can still do all the things I like, so I want to be able to do that throughout my entire life. So I mean, quality of life and long-term health are more of a priority now than they were when I was younger, of course, and so I factor all that into my training. As far as goals for the gym, I want it to be successful, but I want it to be a place where people love to come train. I tried to build the kind of gym that I would want as an athlete, and I really hope other people feel the same way and like how I put everything together. But I really want to build a team here. It's like a family atmosphere where people come in and it's like one of those places where everybody knows you, and they're happy to see you and everybody supports each other. And I mean, not everybody's going to be best friends, but I want it to be like, the way I set up the lobby was so we can have team parties and stuff like that and get-togethers but yeah, I want to take a powerlifting team to competitions and do all those kind of things. So I want to feel that, like a family. When you walk in, it's like, like home for everybody. I've had 3 surgeries related to lifting. I've torn off both biceps, had those reattached, torn off both triceps, had this one operated on. They put a actually wove Kevlar through my tendon to repair it. I've torn my left pec, right quad, left calf, left lat, pretty much every major muscle group at one time or another. I mean, I competed for over 20 years, and if you're pushing your body at that level, injuries happen. And I think a lot of times what determines how far people go in the sport, if you have aspirations to compete at the highest levels, it's how you can endure those things, how you adapt and change your training and learn to train around and through injuries. Honestly, I wasn't down much. I wouldn't recommend that people do what I did, but I was the kind of dummy that would literally, I'd cut my cast off. Like after I had bicep surgery, I cut my cast off within a week. And then, initially I was training. People that have followed me for a long time probably remember videos of me posting like one arm in a cast and doing dumbbell bench. Literally, I'd come home from the hospital, I'd be back in the gym 2 days later, doing whatever I could. And the thing is, for me, I had trained from such a young age and for so long, I know my body really well, so I know exactly how far I can push it without re-injuring it. And I think that's kind of the key to recovering quickly, is doing as much as you can, as soon as you can, but you can't cross that line where you're going to re-aggravate the injury and basically start back at square one. Yeah. So I was really good about knowing my body and knowing what I could do. But yeah, there were a lot of funny things. Like I said, I'd cut my cast off. I'd go see my doc for a follow-up appointment. He'd just kind of shake his head. But he also understood, like, I was more in tune with my body than most people. And I did all my own rehab, and actually I recovered way faster than most people. But like I said, it had a combination of being in good shape when everything happened, and then knowing exactly how far I could push things without pushing them too far. I hope to educate people. I hope that inspire people like me that can relate to my story. And as far as lifting goes, I hope I inspired a lot of people. I hope that people learned from me and the things I've done. And like I said, I hope to build a team here, and hopefully those people will continue to, pass on what they learned from me to other people, and, just help support the entire community. That's the biggest thing. I mean, especially when it's been, I was out to like Dave and all the guys at Elite over a decade ago, and he's super supportive. Dave was awesome right from the start. I told Wendler pretty early on after they started sponsoring me. And they were always awesome. And it was like kind of our inside thing. Like we all knew, and we discussed about, I really wanted to be out 100%, but back then we were really concerned about the impact it would have on my boys. And so that was the reason why I wasn't 100% out. And it was tough because I'm the kind of person, I hit it, for the first 3 decades of my life, and that was super tough. But after that, I wanted to be open. I wanted to be honest. I wanted to talk about it. But then we had to weigh like the impact and what was going to happen, and I did. I lost sponsors. Half my fan base, turned on me, and it wasn't the easiest thing. But when I got outed publicly, like I said, I was already out to a lot of the elite level lifters and Dave and some of my other close people and my family and friends, of course. But then when I got outed by a YouTube video, and that turned my life upside down. But the good thing was it gave me the opportunity to finally speak and be open about everything, and that's been awesome to be able to speak at seminars and just like, hey, look, like, life's too short to live trying to be someone else, and regardless of what that is, like me being trans and being like this, seen as this super alpha hardcore powerlifter, people just didn't think that kind of person existed. And what I found out is that there's a lot of people like me. And you would be shocked at the number of messages, like DMs and stuff I've received since I came out. Just so many people that could relate to my story, and more than I ever thought. And all these like super, quote unquote macho tough guys sharing stuff with me about their sexuality and different things that they were so afraid to talk about. It's just way more common than anybody knows. And for me, like the fact that I can be open now, and that hopefully that helps other people. That's been a huge thing. It was mixed. There was more support than I was expecting, and there was a lot of like big names in the strength community that reached out to me and were supportive, which was awesome, and it was really cool to see that. But it was super difficult, and just the amount of hate some people had was really surprising. And some people, fortunately, I'd gotten to a point like, I was an adult and had been through, the funny thing is I joke that, my success in powerlifting helped me prepare for coming out as trans, because I was already used to being in the public eye, as far as the sport went, and people I'd never met, people on the other side of the world talking about me on forums and ripping me apart and saying all kinds of nonsense. It's like, where does this even come from? And so I was already used to that, and I had learned how to deal with that and be able to laugh at it. So then when that happened with this, that was on a whole nother scale, but still I was able to see it for what it is and realize, the biggest thing I realized was that when someone else says something nasty about you or hateful or mean, it really says more about who they are than who you are. And if you learn to take that perspective on it, it doesn't hurt so bad. And not to say there's still not things that ruffle my feathers, because there are, especially when they talk about my kids or my family. That's hard to ignore. But it really helps to understand really where that's coming from, and it's issues those people have, and it's not my issue. It's not for me to deal with. And and then just happy to finally be all of who I am and living my life, and things are way better.